Word, similarity. Description refers to the state of being alike or resembling each other. It describes a quality shared between two or more things, indicating a resemblance or commonality. It's used when comparing items or ideas to highlight shared traits. Phrases of example. First, the similarity between them was striking. Second, there's a strange similarity in the way things end. Third, the similarity of their fates was unsettling. Word, label. Description, a noun meaning a descriptive word or tag attached to something. It can refer to a sticker, a category, or a name given to identify or classify a person, object, or idea. It signifies a way to understand or organize something. Phrases of example. First, she stuck a label on his forehead, and it read fool. Second, he had a label for everything, even his own despair. Third, the world had put a label on him, a mark he could not erase. Word, worth. Description describes the value or importance of something. It indicates how much something is considered useful, desirable, or beneficial. It can refer to monetary value, but also to the intangible value of experiences or relationships. Phrases of example. First, it is not how much you do, but how much love you put into what you do. It is worth something. Second, the effort was worth it, and that's all that mattered. Third, happiness is not worth buying if it costs you your integrity. Word, no. Description indicates a negative response or the absence of something. It is used to deny something, refuse a request, or state that something does not exist or is not present. It is a fundamental word for simple statements. Phrases of example. First, there is no place like home. Second, no one knows the hour or day. Third, no, I will not be broken. Word, hierarchy. Description refers to a system of ranking people or things in a structured order, often displaying authority or importance. It denotes a clear chain of command or a layered structure where some elements are above others. Phrases of example. First, a rigid hierarchy and absolute power corrupts. Second, the established hierarchy always resists change. Third, there's an unspoken hierarchy in every group. Word, type. Description refers to a category or kind of thing. It can describe a specific sort or variety. It's used to classify or identify something based on shared characteristics. Phrases of example. First, there is a type of man who is born to fight. Second, what sort of type are you then? Third, that's the type of thing that keeps me up at night. Word, logo. Description, a symbol or design used to represent a company or product. It's often used for branding and identification, appearing on packaging, advertisements, and websites to create recognition. Phrases of example. First, the logo was a visual shorthand for their brand's identity. Second, the company's logo had become synonymous with quality and innovation. Third, a logo isn't just a pretty picture. Word, terminal. Description describes a final point or stage, often referring to a place like an airport or bus station. It can also mean something conclusive or ultimate, signifying an end or limit. It's often used in formal contexts or technical language. Phrases of example. First, the terminal velocity was reached, a breathless slide into the unknown. Second, the terminal point of all human endeavor is death. Third, it was a terminal situation, a precipice of despair. A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. Word, feminist. Description describes someone who supports or believes in feminism, advocating for social, political, and economic equality between the sexes. It signifies a focus on women's rights and challenging gender-based discrimination and stereotypes in various aspects of life. Phrases of example. First, she was a feminist long before the term was fashionable. Second, the story of a feminist, a rebel and a visionary. Third, his ideas challenged the feminist movement and sparked intense debate. Word, buffer. Description: a zone or space that protects something from external forces or impacts. It can be physical, like a protective layer, or conceptual, like a time cushion. It indicates a space that absorbs shock or provides a margin for error. Phrases of example. First, the buffer zone created a space for negotiation. Second, a buffer of ambiguity allowed for unforeseen adaptations. Third, we need a safety buffer against the unpredictable nature of the market. Word: relation. Description refers to the way two or more things are connected or similar. It can describe a connection between people, family, friends, or things, a relationship, a comparison. It highlights the link or association between them. Phrases of example. First, their relation was a complicated dance of love and resentment. Second, the relation between the two families was strained by years of silence. Third, he sought a deeper relation with the natural world. Word: park. Description: a place with grass and trees, often in a town or city, where people can relax and enjoy nature. It's a public space for recreation, often with benches and sometimes play areas for children. Phrases of example. First, she loved to sit in the park and watch the children play. Second, he walked slowly through the park, lost in thought. Third, they sat in the park, enjoying the warm sunshine. Word: identification. Description refers to the process of recognizing or establishing the identity of a person or thing. It often involves verifying details and comparing them against records. It is used in formal contexts like security, legal proceedings, or official documentation. Phrases of example. First, the identification of the perpetrator became a priority for the police. Second, successful identification with a movement is the first step towards commitment. Third, his identification with the plight of the migrant worker was profound and genuine. Word: elsewhere. Description indicates a different place or location. It suggests that something is not where it currently is and implies a move or existence in another spot. It is used when referring to a place that is not the one being discussed. Phrases of example. First, she would go elsewhere, seeking solace in a new city. Second, he felt the need to wander elsewhere, a restless spirit. Third, they departed, seeking their fortunes elsewhere. Word: all. Description means completely or without exception. It indicates that something includes everything or everyone in a group. It's used to emphasize totality or to refer to the entirety of something. Phrases of example. First, we are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Second, he was a good man, all in all, though a bit of a fool. Third, the world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest. Word: alike. Description means sharing similar qualities or characteristics. It suggests a resemblance or similarity between two or more things or people, often used to highlight common traits or features that connect them. Phrases of example. First, she and her sister were so alike that they were often mistaken for twins. Second, all happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Third, we are all alike, we humans, in our need for love and understanding. Word: planning. Description refers to the process of thinking about and preparing for something in advance. It's about making arrangements and deciding how to achieve a goal. It describes the actions taken to organize future events or projects. Phrases of example. First, the planning was meticulous, every detail accounted for. Second, careful planning is a sign of true leadership. Third, our planning was more hopeful than realistic. Word: disturb. Description means to interrupt or bother someone or something. It implies a disruption of peace, quiet, or a current state. It can refer to physically interrupting or causing emotional distress, often unintentionally. Phrases of example. First, he did not want to disturb the peace of the evening. Second, do not disturb me. I am trying to think. Third, I hate to disturb your concentration. Word store. Description means a place where goods are sold. It can also refer to a supply of something, like food or energy, that is kept for future use. It's a common word describing shops or reserves. Phrases of example. First, I went to the store for eggs and milk. Second, the old store stood silent, a relic of a bygone era. Third, he opened the store, hoping to build a better life. Word nominee. Description, a person who has been chosen to run for an office or be considered for a role. It signifies a candidate or applicant put forward for selection, often implying a formal process or competition. Phrases of example. First, the nomination of such a nominee caused a national outcry. Second, he was the nominee for president, a symbol of hope and change. Third, she became the nominee, shattering a law. Word constitute. Description means to form or make up something. It signifies that individual elements combine to create a whole or a group. It's often used in formal contexts when describing components of a system, organization, or concept. Phrases of example. First, a democracy constitutes the government of the people by the people. Second, the details constitute the story. Third, those three things constitute a body, bone, muscle, and spirit. Word climate. Description refers to the average weather conditions in a specific place over a long time. It describes patterns of temperature, rainfall, and sunshine. It's used when talking about weather trends and environments. Phrases of example. First, the climate of the story is dark and filled with dread. Second, the climate there is so humid, I felt like I would melt. Third, the changing climate of our world is a pressing concern. Word beat. Description means to hit someone or something. It can also refer to winning a competition or game. It describes a physical action of striking or the result of succeeding against an opponent. Phrases of example. First, you can beat me, and you can kill me, but you cannot kill my spirit. Second, he would beat on the door until it broke. Third, the truth will beat you up, but it will set you free. Word bid. Description refers to a price offered or proposed, typically in an auction or a tender process. It can also mean a formal offer or proposal to do something, like for a project or contract. It signifies a declared intention to fulfill a request or obligation. Phrases of example. First, she had a good voice, but an amateur manner, which made her seem all the more a lady. Second, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. Third, his amateur knowledge of the law was just enough to make him dangerous. Word kill. Description means to end a living thing's life. It can refer to animals or plants, but most often describes ending a human life. It's a strong word and should be used carefully, often in specific contexts. Phrases of example. First, to kill a mockingbird was a sin. Second, he would kill for power, for respect. Third, they were ready to kill for their beliefs. Word copy. Description, a duplicate of something, like a written document or a digital file. It refers to a reproduction that is not the original. It can also refer to something that imitates something else. Phrases of example. First, the imitation is the copy of the original, with a touch of imagination. Second, he made a copy of the letter, careful to include every detail. Third, every author has a copy of a friend's work in his desk. Word global. Description, relating to the whole world or across many countries. It describes something that affects or involves people or places worldwide. It's used to indicate a wide reach or international scope, often in discussions about issues or events. Phrases of example. First, the global issues are many and interconnected. Second, he saw the world in a global way, understanding the vastness of cultures. Third, this global crisis demands immediate and collective action. Word, wherever. Description means every place that, or any place that. It combines two clauses, indicating that something happens or is true in all places considered. It's used to express a condition or consequence applicable to multiple locations. Phrases of example. First, wherever you go, whoever you meet, be brave. Second, wherever there is love, there is life. Third, wherever she goes, she leaves a little bit of magic behind. Word, hurricane. Description, a powerful storm with strong winds and heavy rain. It's a type of tropical cyclone characterized by its size, intensity, and destructive potential. The term is generally used for storms in the Atlantic and Northeast Pacific. Phrases of example. First, the hurricane approached, a monstrous swirling darkness. Second, the hurricane season was always a time of fear and uncertainty. Third, the wind howled like a hurricane, rattling the windows. Word, December. Description, December is the 12th month of the year. It comes after November and before January. It's a month associated with winter holidays and the end of the calendar year. Phrases of example. First, December is the last month of the year, and it is a time for celebration. Second, in December, the snow began to fall. Third, the days grew shorter as December approached. Word, arm. Description, means to equip or provide with something, often a weapon or protective gear. It suggests providing a necessary tool or resource for a specific purpose, implying readiness or preparation for an action or defense. Phrases of example. First, I saw the king arm himself with a great sword, and he went out to meet the enemy. Second, he was a man who would arm himself against the world, and he would never surrender. Third, he was about to arm himself with a terrible truth, a truth that would change his life forever. Word, cattle. Description, refers to domesticated bovine animals, raised for meat or milk. Often used in farming contexts or to describe large groups, it can also be used metaphorically to refer to people treated as a mass or group, often negatively. Phrases of example. First, the cattle were grazing peacefully in the verdant pasture. Second, he drove his cattle across the plains, a man against the landscape. Third, the rancher's cattle roamed free, a symbol of his hard word, cleaning. Description, refers to the act of making something tidy or removing dirt. It describes the process of tidying up a space or object, or the result of doing so. Often used in phrases like house cleaning or spring cleaning. Phrases of example. First, the cleaning lady had a smile as wide as the Mississippi. Second, the cleaning of the ship was a tedious and time. Third, she loved the quiet satisfaction of cleaning a room. Word, enthusiasm. Description, it describes a strong feeling of excitement and interest in something. This feeling is often demonstrated through energetic behavior or passionate expression. It conveys a sense of eagerness and enjoyment about a particular activity or subject. Phrases of example. First, with such enthusiasm, she accepted the offer, brimming with hope. Second, his enthusiasm for the project was contagious, inspiring everyone involved. Third, she approached the challenge with relentless enthusiasm and determination. Word, clue. Description, a piece of information that helps solve a mystery or understand a situation. It's a hint or indication that points toward a solution or reveals something previously unknown. It can be literal or figurative, offering a lead to follow. Phrases of example. First, the faintest clue of a smile played about his lips. Second, it was a vital clue, the only one they had. Third, a small clue could reveal the entire truth. Word, silent. Description, describes a lack of sound or speaking. It can refer to a person who isn't talking, a place that is quiet, or something that doesn't produce noise. It implies a stillness or absence of vocal communication. Phrases of example. First, The silence between them was a comfortable, almost tangible thing. Second, the house stood silent, a monument to forgotten dreams. Third, the sea was silent, waiting for the storm to break. Word, shop. Description, a place where you can buy things. It's often used to describe stores that sell food, clothes, or other goods. It can also mean to buy something at a store. Phrases of example. First, I went to the shop for bread and butter. Second, he went to the shop and bought a loaf of bread. Third, she liked to shop for antiques and vintage clothing. Word, extra. Description means additional or beyond what is usual or expected. It describes something that is not part of the standard amount or requirement. Used to indicate something is supplementary or above the basic need. Phrases of example. First, he needed extra help to succeed in his new job. Second, it's an extra step, but worth it in the end. Third, she took extra care to prepare her presentation. Word, hard. Description describes something requiring much effort or force. It can refer to physical difficulty or a challenging task. It also describes something firm to the touch or a high degree of intensity. Phrases of example. First, it was a hard journey, but we made it. Second, the work was hard, but the reward was great. Third, he worked hard to achieve his dreams. Word, 12. Description represents the numerical value between 11 and 13. It's a common number used for counting, ages, dates, or quantities. It's a basic term for expressing a specific amount. Phrases of example. First, I was 12 years old when my father died. Second, there were 12 jurors, and their voices were harsh. Third, I had 12 reasons for being there. Word, engineer. Description, someone who designs, builds, or repairs things like machines, roads, or bridges. It describes a profession requiring technical knowledge and problem-solving skills. They apply science and math to create solutions. Phrases of example. First, the engineer brought order to the chaotic landscape. Second, he was an engineer by trade, a dreamer by nature. Third, the railway engineer was responsible for the bridge's construction. Word, climb. Description means to go up something, like a hill, stairs, or a tree, using your hands and feet. It describes the action of ascending and reaching a higher position. It's a common verb for moving upwards. Phrases of example. First, she began to climb the stairs, 2 at a time. Second, we must climb every mountain. Third, he climbed into the tree and looked around. Word, shift. Description, to change or move to a different position or situation. It can refer to a physical movement, a change in opinion, or a change in responsibility. It implies a transition from one state to another, often unexpectedly. Phrases of example. First, a shift in the wind brought with it the scent of rain and a change in the mood of the crowd. Second, the tectonic plates shift and the world changes. Third, the factory's shift began and the machinery roared to life. Word, unite. Description means to come together or join as one. It signifies the merging of people, groups, or things to form a single entity or achieve a common goal. It implies a joining together, often after a period of separation or disagreement. Phrases of example. First, I want to unite them with love and peace. Second, they came to unite against a common foe. Third, we must unite to face the coming darkness. Word, opinion. Description, a thought or belief someone holds. It's what you think about something, your personal view. Everyone has opinions about different things, and they can vary widely. It's a basic way to express how you feel. Phrases of example. First, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Second, everyone has an opinion, but not everyone is right. Third, in my opinion, this is the best book I have ever read. Word, extremely. Description means to a very high degree. It intensifies an adjective or adverb, showing something is much more than just very. It's used to emphasize the extent of a quality or action. Phrases of example. First, he was extremely good at hiding his fear. Second, the sun was extremely bright, reflecting off the white sand. Third, she was extremely proud of her accomplishments. Word, raise. Description means to lift something or someone up to a higher position. It can also mean to bring up a child or to increase an amount, like a price or salary. It's a common verb used in everyday conversation. Phrases of example. First, we must raise the bar for ourselves. Second, it is difficult to raise children without being a little bit of a monster. Third, I am going to raise a family. Word, palm. Description refers to the inner surface of your hand, between your fingers and wrist. It can also refer to a type of tree or a place with palm trees. It's often used in descriptions of landscapes or when talking about the hand. Phrases of example. First, the palms were rustling, and a gentle breeze cooled his face. Second, she held a palm leaf fan, shielding her from the harsh sunlight. Third, the dates hung heavy on the palm, ripening in the desert heat. Word, 30. Description, it represents the numerical value between 29 and 31. It's a common number used to count or specify quantity, used when referring to a specific amount or age. Phrases of example. First, I was 30 and I felt old. Second, 30 years hence, I shall be one of the wonders of the world. Third, he was 30. Word, inspire. Description means to fill someone with the urge or ability to do something. It suggests sparking creativity, enthusiasm, or a strong desire for action. It is used to describe influencing someone positively, motivating them to create or achieve. Phrases of example. First, her words inspire me to pursue my dreams relentlessly. Second, his courage and leadership inspire others to fight for what they believe in. Third, music has the power to inspire joy and healing within us all.